Hello, beautiful people. It is way past my bedtime. I actually think this is the latest I've stayed up all quarantine. And I guess that's all right. Well, stayed up on purpose. My friends just left, so I'm going to blame it on them. But I had a really enjoyable evening. I learned a lot of things. I don't even know that I told you guys really some of my big picture dreams, but they're substantial, and some of them, regard changing the laws, for example, and wanting somehow to figure out whatever source is collecting gambling money, that there's a piece of that money that goes towards recovery, putting people in treatment centers, etc. And I want that kind of consistent, however that works, state, federal. And I don't understand a lot of that stuff. I have to learn all that. And I'm not really worried about it. It'll work itself out. But it was really interesting to hear how all that stuff works. And it sounds like the backbone historically has been from groups or pockets of people. Now, I'm summarizing some of what I learned tonight, so it's actually like third hand or whatever, but it requires pockets of people. And when we got on the subject of addiction and trying to understand how the law works, it never has interested me. I knew not to break it, or I knew I shouldn't break it, but it's never, I've never liked history and courts. I mean, Judge Judy's okay, but not, all that boring stuff. Well, it's boring to me, but to Marie, it's not boring. So I learned lots of things. Anyway, all of these components that would get me to see success with, for example, a tax on lottery tickets to pay for treatment for gamblers that need it, all those kinds of things that I'm envisioning and want to help happen, take people. And I hadn't thought of it in that, well, in the way she put it, how these chapters are formed and connected. And she walked me through history and used some examples like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which, however the rollout, there's a pocket of people and then chapters grow. And again, I'm trying to explain what she explained to me, so take it with a grain of salt. At any rate, here we are with COVID. And in her example, she said, open a chapter in Albany, one downstate, one in North Country, but all in New York, and how it trickles up to the right amount of government. You would think that geographically in New York, it'd be pretty easy, whether you had friends and family in different areas. And again, I'm describing pre-COVID. Well, now as the world changes, as I'm thinking about what she's saying, we can come out of this on the other side, more connected from a distance, if that makes sense. And it's almost like we can propel the future once the world starts turning again with some of these opportunities. The other big, and this is kind of a broad topic, but another piece of the discussion was to put gambling in that drug and alcohol bucket, and just a blanket addiction bucket. And as much as I respect the opioid crisis and alcoholism and all the different addictions, you're going to hear Neil talk about food and binge eating. You're going to hear Ashley talk about living with a sex addict. So I'm totally mindful of all the addictions and respectful, but in my mind all along, I'm thinking that part of my mission is to actually take gambling out of, the big umbrella. I really want to highlight, because it's so ingrained in our everyday life. no different than the food or sex addiction example. It's just such a part of our culture. It's part of our language. I imagine that you could go back, and if you listened to my shows and thought about it, I probably say, I bet. I know that I've had guests say, double down. There's some now for all the gamblers out there listening, your heart just did a little flicker, right? Like when you heard those words, and I'm saying that to illustrate the point of it's just there. It's just so embedded into society. So I don't want to embed it into this bucket of other addictions. And who knows, maybe I learn, like the business part of me, like that side of my brain looks at it different, and maybe it does have to go in the bucket. That's not really who I envisioned it to be working towards. So this is one of my reflective moments that you just got to hear me talk through. It'll be interesting. I have to actually circle back. Anyway, I got to circle back to the Facebook page so you guys can help me with dialogue like this and help me make decisions. So that'll be coming soon. Anyway, I am going to go to bed. I hope everybody